Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another semi-daily movie review. Today we're going to be talking about the 2000 film Requiem for a Dream, directed by Darren Aronofsky, screenplay by Hubert Selby Jr., based on his own book of the same name. It stars Ellen Burstyn, Jared Leto, Jennifer Connelly, Marlon Wayans, and others. The logline plot synopsis is: the drug-induced utopias of four Coney Island people are shattered when their addictions run deep. So yeah, good old Requiem for a Dream. You remember when you were a cool teenager and Requiem for a Dream came out? Do you remember that? Remember when you were a young film fan and you're like, bruh, gotta watch some Requiem, dog? I remember growing up it being a topic of conversation amongst the film fan people I knew. Everybody was talking about Requiem for a Dream and Donnie Darko. You know? That was kind of the big thing around this time when this came out. Because it was, especially Requiem, the way it's directed, it's so like edgy. It's like very edgy. And at the time, you just didn't know any better. You didn't know that you were watching something that was like over directed. Oh, did I just give away the game? So, yeah, let's talk about Requiem for a Dream. It's a movie that I was never the biggest fan of. I don't know why that is. I feel like, I have a little bit of a contrarian nature, and when I was a kid, there was a few movies where everybody's like, dude, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. You got to watch this movie. One of them was Requiem for a Dream. Another one was, like I said, Donnie Darko. Also, Super Troopers. Super Troopers. I've never liked Super Troopers. I don't know why. But I didn't hate Requiem for a Dream. I just was kind of like, it's all right. It's all right. At the time, especially, like, I had this thing, I was like, I don't care about any of these people. Like, there was nothing to attach me to them. Maybe I was too young. You watch Requiem for a Dream when you're, 14, 15? Probably too young to really even be able to begin to understand it. At least, or so I thought. So, recently, Black Friday happened. I didn't really buy very many movies. I'm trying to, be better, save some money. But this, Requiem for a Dream, on 4K was like super cheap. I think it was like $7. And I was like, well, $7. I can revisit Requiem. It's been a long time. It had probably been, since like 2002, 18, 19 years since I'd seen this movie. And I never thought about it again. And it's weird because I have been a little bit of a soft defender of Darren Aronofsky. Like, I don't love everything he does, but I appreciate like his pretentious bullshit. I appreciate that he's out there doing it. He's got a point of view, which is more than I can say for a lot of filmmakers. So, and I like a few of his movies. Don't get me wrong. I think like Black Swan, pretty good. I actually like The Fountain. Okay. Noah. I would say no. I think Noah's probably more interesting than good, but worth checking out, worth watching. Mother, same way. So I'm not a super fan, but I do respect his work on some level. Even though I think himself, the person, I cannot stand listening to him talk because his head is so far up his own ass. But anyway, so let's talk about Requiem. This was his second film. He made a student film called Pi before this. And then this comes out, kind of takes the festival circuit by storm. Movie critics, he busted out into the mainstream. He comes from that 90s indie school, and it was kind of like the new generation of people like the Tarantinos and stuff of the early 90s. This was the new crop of those guys. He was one of them. And so revisiting it, just in brief, I suppose, I can appreciate the things that this movie wants to explore. I can appreciate the themes, the way that it talks about kind of the cycles of addiction and drug abuse, and how kind of incremental escalation can lead you to a place where you're over your head and you don't even know it. And that's kind of every character basically goes through the same arc. It's kind of the same arc. So there's four main characters played by Jared Leto. Still got Gary Oldman up there. Ooh. Jared Leto, Marlon Wayans, Jennifer Connelly, and Ellen Burstyn. And they all kind of have a same problem for different reasons, but you kind of watch them devolve, fall apart, compromise themselves, How far will they actually push their, even some of their, like their values or their moral systems? Ellen Burstyn's the one that's the most empathy, you can have the most empathy for, because it's the more tragic of the four. But I would say this: the direction and the performances themselves, maybe Ellen Burstyn's okay, are so cloyingly desperate to impress. Like, this is like, give me an Oscar type shit, that it becomes obnoxious. And at some point, pretty early on in the movie, it feels like it's undermining its own point. Like, the movie is so fucking overly edited and overly stylized, and I understand that's the intention. That was kind of the point. He was trying to make something subversive and transgressive to what a story like this would normally be like, and he really wanted to put you in the head of the drug addict, of these junkies. So it's very erratic, and there's a lot of strobe lights effects and a lot of fast cutting, and it's all over the place, and all the characters are all over the place, and I think if they had taken some more time and let some of this stuff breathe and got some better actors, honestly, I think it might have been more effective. But there was something about it that was like, it was so fucking obnoxious. I like ended up hating the movie. I really, and it doesn't happen to me very often, but I was like, I resented its existence. Not just because it's it's a downer movie. It's a very nihilistic movie. But I imagine the story itself is nihilistic. But that's the nature of being a junkie. Like, I don't discount that. I don't disagree with that. But there is nothing in this movie other than the degradation. That's it. There's no bright spots at all. Like I said, I understand that is the intent of the film. But just some of the directorial choices, just the way they shot some of this stuff, makes it hard to empathize with most of them, like I said. Like, they feel like abstractions. They feel like caricatures. They don't feel like, it's not like they're like, I guess you could say that they're archetypes, but they're, and you do broad archetypes so that everybody can kind of understand these people. You've met somebody like this, maybe you have somebody that's addicted to drugs, or you have somebody that's addicted to diet pills or whatever. Like, so they want them to be kind of broad, but maybe it was the performances themselves are just so overwrought and so like actory and so like kabuki theater almost. Like, I like Ellen Burstyn. I think she gives an interesting performance here, but it is cranked to 11 from the get-go. And Marlon Wayans, why the fuck do they cast Marlon Wayans? Dude, that guy is not a good actor. He was not a good actor then. He's not a good actor now. I know. I'm sure somebody's like, oh, what the fuck are you talking about? Well, I'm sorry, everybody. And Jared Leto is another guy. History is not going to be kind to Jared Leto's like filmography as an actor. The guy, he tries so fucking hard, and that's the problem. That's the problem. It does not feel natural. It does not feel in the moment. It feels of a performance. And this is a movie that probably needed some more low-key stuff. Jennifer Connelly, out of probably all of them, gives the most naturalistic low-key performance. And it probably is, out of all of them, probably the most effective. Like I said, I think Ellen Burstyn's performance is like, the mother that gets addicted to the fat loss pills, the weight loss pills. You're just empathetic to that situation. It's the story component that you respond to, like this old lady who just gets in over her head with this stuff because she has nothing in her life, and her son's a fucking junkie, and he's always stealing her TV, and she thinks she's going to be able to have this moment that's going to change everything for her, and it ends up being her undoing. And like, that is something you're like, oh, that's awful. I feel awful. The other characters, really hard to feel that way for, because, and I think part of that is the performance. It creates this distance that you're just like, I don't care about you. I don't give a fuck. And maybe that's harsh on my part. Maybe I'm just at a place in my life where I'm just like, I do not have time for your bullshit, junkies. But this is like, because you're just watching a series of bad decisions unfold before you. And And it's hard to feel bad for them because they're willfully doing this to themselves. And there is not ever really any effort to try to not do them. Like, there's nothing redeeming about anybody. Maybe that's more realistic, sure. But you're trying to tell a story, like you want to create drama. Like, they don't have to succeed. They don't have to succeed. If they're trying to get off the drugs, trying to get off the smack. Like, they don't have to actually achieve that. You could just have them try and fail. At least there'd be something to fucking respond to as an audience member. And like I said, this is like a me problem. I'm reviewing what I think the movie should be, and I don't like doing that. I don't think that's necessarily fair because I get it. Like, I got what the movie was going for. I just thought what the movie was going for sucked. Just didn't work for me. Maybe that's just a me thing. Maybe that's just that's a Sean problem, I guess. Because I bet you I know people love this movie. I know people my age really like this movie. But I just saw nothing redeeming about it. It just gave me a fucking headache. I could not wait for it to be over. And because of like there being no real good narrative hook or character hooks, like it felt like it went on forever. And it's an under 2-hour movie. It's like an hour and 40 minutes or something. And I was watching and I was like, man, I cannot wait for this just to be fucking over. Let's just be done with it. And you know, I bought the 4K. You know, it has a bunch of special features. It even got some new special features. I didn't even bother. I was like, I don't really care. Which is really weird for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just at a place in my life where it's hard to feel bad for willful self-destruction. Even though I know this shit happens to people, and I do have empathy for that. But like the pretentiousness of the presentation seems like it was almost condescending. You know? Feels like a feature-length Dare commercial made by people that have no idea what the fuck this life is actually about, what this world would actually even be like. You know, that's actually probably the best parallel I can draw. Is it's like a 90-minute Dare commercial. Remember those Dare commercials? Those edgy fucking Dare commercials from like the early 90s, mid-90s? It's like Darren Aronofsky saw those and he's like, I'm going to make a movie like that. And then he did. I don't know. Maybe some of I'm being unfair. Like, he was a young dude when he made the movie. The things that you think are profound or, the imagery. Like, I'm so happy I never got to make any of the movies I wanted to make when I was in my late teens, early 20s. Holy shit. I'm thinking of some of them right now. My eyes are about to roll in the back of my fucking head. Because you think of, like, song choices, symbolism. And it's all in these kinds of movies from these people at the time. There was a certain zeitgeist that was happening. Maybe that's why like so many young film fans and cineasts and whatnot really responded to something like that when they were younger, because that's like their maturity level. That's where they were at. That's where we were at the time. So we respond to this kind of style over substance. Oh, it's dark. It's gritty. Oh, dude, it's fucking so real. They're fucking shooting heroin and fucking this girl's going to this guy's house, sucking his dick. You know, I will say this, though. Keith David, still awesome. Best part of the movie is Keith David. Actually gave me the creeps. And the one thing that I would say that Aronofsky kind of used, a little subtle thing in the movie, was that he's like the devil. And they kind of make reference to that. He's got this great Keith David laugh that they kind of almost like lowered a little bit, and you just hear him like chuckling in the darkness. It was very effective. If there was an effective scene that made me like feel uncomfortable, it was the stuff with Keith David, for sure. For sure. But anyways, yeah, not a big fan of Requiem for a Dream, apparently. I don't know what I expected, though. Like I said at the beginning, like, I never really loved it or anything. I was never a huge fan. I thought just maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll come back to it older, wiser, have a different opinion. Guess it got worse. My opinion of the film got worse. Now I'm like worried to go back and watch like Donnie Darko. I did like Donnie Darko. But it's another one, right? It's just full of like these song cues and very, very on the nose direction and ponderous dialogue, ponderous, pretentious dialogue about love and time travel. I don't know. We'll probably get to it at some point. If I ever see it for $5, I will totally buy Donnie Darko. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, there's a bunch of links in the description for Facebook, for Instagram, for Twitter. Also, if you'd like to make a recommendation for one of these semi-daily movie reviews or something for Zoobox Goes to the Movies or the regular shows, like a topic you want to hear us talk about, throw it in the comments and we'll put it on the list. All right, everybody. You have a great one. Goodbye. Goodbye.